going to continue introducing Mr. FHoulgrave and his running behind the scenes.
Good afternoon, everybody. It all started in elementary school. I think with most kids, you probably find them on the playground or at the kickball field, but with me, if you're looking for me, you had to look out the track. For as long as I can remember, I've loved running and pushing myself to new limits. First, it was 1 lap, and then 5, then 10. Before I knew it, by 5th grade, I'd run my first 10K. And I knew then that cross country was the outlet for me. For the past 7 years in middle school and high school, I've advanced my career as a runner. But today, I'm looking to see running in new perspectives, and that is why I welcome you to Running Behind the Scenes. My name is FHoulgrave. To start off my project, I wanted to delve into a problem that I've had personally, and I wanted to see how it compared with scientific data. Now, I don't know if this is by pure coincidence, but when I start my cross-country season, I happen to sleep like a rock. And so I wanted to see how scientific data compared to that. So I accumulated research from multiple sources, but more importantly, I conducted my own focus group within the indoor track team. The focus group consisted of 3 members who trained over a 4-day period, and they had all been ex-cross-country runners, so I knew they were in a relatively general same physical condition. So I conducted the focus group over a 4-day period, and I noticed that a general upward trend with terms of workout intensity and relevance to sleep patterns and quality of sleep. So what I did was I had them fill out a Google form each day of the week during practice, and basically they summarized what they did in the workout, and then they rated their workout intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. And then they would rate their quality of sleep from a scale of 1 to 10. And although with other research, I found that generally running does help with sleep patterns, but it is relying on 2 factors, one being individual composition, and the second being individual physical condition. So really, before you can see the effects of running take place in this field, you have to be a conditioned runner. And it also just depends on your biochemical makeup. To continue on with my internship, I wanted to see how the other half lives, per se, with being a competitor in races. I wanted to see how it worked with the people who set up the races for me to compete in. To do this, I worked through the Ragged Mountain Running Shop as a volunteer in 2 Charlottesville races this past fall, and one of them being the Lina Hookie race, which was a 5K actually held here at the high school, and then the second one being the men's 4-miler, which was a 500-person race held on November 6th. To accomplish this, I worked with the owner of the Ragged Mountain Running Shop, Mark Lorenzoni. Mark has been a runner for 40 years. He's run the shop since 1982, its opening, and he's dedicated husband and father of 4 children, one of which being my second mentor for my internship, Audrey Lorenzoni, who helps market management of the shop. Primarily during my internship, I communicated through Audrey, but I worked with Mark more on race day. And what I learned here was that there's a lot that goes into the preparation, but it doesn't stop there. When the gun starts, you have X amount of minutes until you have 500 runners crossing the finish line, and you have to make sure all the conditions are set for them to cross that line safely. And we had run into a problem on race day for the men's 4-miler where someone had neglected to set up the finish line. And so, but what my mentors taught me was that in situations with high levels of stress, you have to try your best to approach it with a level head. And I've tried to apply this to other aspects of my life as well in my senior year. Now, for my community service, I wanted to take what I learned during my internship and apply it more into my community. To do this, I worked with fellow BRBGS student Caroline Will, who had gone earlier, if you may remember, and Jennifer Thorpe, the head of the LCHS Physical Education Department, Driver's Education, and coach of the swim teams. My duties to help Caroline in her completion of her 5K was the design and construction of the course. Now, this picture right here actually was created using the Under Armour online Map My Run utility. And so my duties were mapping out the course here, measuring the course to make sure it approximated the 3.1 miles, and then laying out the directions for the course to make sure the through it efficiently. I ran into some problems here as I realized that I had to keep in mind who was running the race, as there was one elderly gentleman who will be running on Saturday, so I had to make sure that there weren't any extremely treacherous conditions. And also as well, I had to compare the differences between online digital mapping, which only looks at it from an aerial view, not accounting for elevation, and from actual mapping. I actually went out there last Saturday, and my 3.1 mile run turned into a 4.1 mile run. So I had to make some changes as I go. And of course, also there was inclement weather to account for. Yesterday was not very fun when it started pouring. But hopefully things will go smoothly on Saturday, and I believe that I've constructed a very good course. In terms of personal impact, sidebar, this is actually the first picture I could find of me running in 7th grade, pardon the hairstyle. But when I look at this picture of me, I was a runner, but to me, a runner was a competitor. And when I look at myself now, I see a runner, but a runner is a member of a community of like-minded individuals who are dedicated to not only improving their skills, but being better people in general and helping each other do that. And to be honest, when I had ended my cross-country career this past fall, I was concerned that it would mean the end of my fun with running. But this project has assured me that this is not only a hobby, it's a passion, and that there are multiple ways to keep the spirit alive. As for the future, I plan to attend Virginia Tech University, and although my major is undecided, I want to go into a field of computer science and possibly work with my father at JS Technologies. And in terms of special thanks, of course, goes out to Ms. Jackowitz, the Governor School Program in general, all of my coaches who got me here today. But most importantly, I wanted to thank Coach Cartwright, who is in the back right now. Cross country taught me how to be humble, how to be kind, and most importantly, how to fight for something that I believe in. But I know I wouldn't have learned those lessons if he weren't there to be teaching me. And I won't forget that. Thank you for coming. Are there any questions? Right. So in my focus group, on average, as there was a 2-point increase in workout intensity, there was also a simultaneous 2-point increase in quality of sleep. And as for my research goes, many medications that are prescribed to people with insomnia are risk addiction and generally do not yield positive results. So I would like to incorporate running as an alternative method to those who it works for, and as I emphasized before, it is really dependent on individual circumstances. But potentially, running could improve the health of millions in America, and not just by means of physical conditioning. Yes, Caroline.
What's the most difficult part of your community service communicating with officials?
I would say trying to find middle ground on the course, because Coach Storka had her own ideas on what to do with the course, and there have been multiple 5Ks here this year, and I wanted to take a slightly different approach by incorporating, this loop around the pot and through the woods. I initially actually planned to incorporate much more through the woods, but we found that it was a bit too dangerous and difficult to incorporate with the given distance of 3.1 miles. So I would say just communicating in general.
Did your research show any correlation between use of supplements or diet with the sleep?
Yeah, I didn't delve into that too much, but that is one of the things that have been said about